Hi y'all, I'm Lindsi. I'm a functional practitioner, and this is the wellness space where we're going to talk about the financial wellness forecast. I'm going to be hosting here with my Theo Byron, who is a financial advisor, who's my financial advisor, and he has definitely been a key component in shaping my overall wellness and my financial wellness. So with that, I will let him introduce himself.
Hello. My name is Byron Armstrong. I'm so excited to be able to spend some time talking with people really on a larger basis. I've worked in finance for over 2 decades. So a lot of time, a lot of average, everyday people in those areas that we've been able to help get better and better with their finances. As far as my background, I have a bachelor's degree in human behaviors. So it's a little bit of psychology. We have a master's in finance, which helps with some of the terminology. And then before this, I was actually an Air Force officer. I worked on munitions and aircraft. So a little bit different than this, but always kind of dealing with people. So we're excited to be able to spend some time with you guys, spend some time talking to each other, and really just going through some of the things about finances that we don't talk about, where we at, our thoughts, our fears, and then actually some actionable items that you can do to help you get in a better financial position.
That's great. I definitely want for it to show that this financial wellness forecast is about wellness and its balance, and knowing that finances are a key component to that, just being able to have an easily accessible conversation and to be part of that conversation as it expands and as it grows, as we evolve this series about financial wellness. I'm just very excited to get to the basics and then to grow into what the potentials could be. I actually thought about this last night, and I wanted to surprise you more with it.
Okay.
But do you remember around the time of when you first met me? I was 15 years old.
Yeah.
Do you remember any of that time? Because you were 25, right?
I just remember because you borrowed the car for prom. I remember that. The Z.
Mm-hmm.
That I remember.
Yeah, she almost let me have that Z, you know that? Why didn't she? I would have loved to have a 350Z at a...
I remember that. Because you did take it to prom, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I took it to homecoming junior year.
Something like that. Yeah, school stuff.
And that was also when I took it to 160 miles an hour on art craft.
Whatever.
And
wasn't my car.
I lived to tell about it. I never told her.
wasn't my car.
Wasn't your car. So that's what you remember. I was 15 years old, and what was going on in your life at 25?
For me?
Mm-hmm. Where were you in time?
I mean, it was, I was kind of fresh out of divorce, 2 kids, kind of dating around, seeing who I liked.
And you had kids young,
I had
right?
kids very young.
18 and...
Yeah,
20?
like 18 and 21 is where I had 2 kids.
And you were
boy
in
and
the
a girl,
Air Force?
Girl being the oldest. I was already in the Air Force at that point. And really, we were just kind of figuring out career fields. Like, I had been in the Air Force for probably the last 6 years. It was at the end of 9/11. So we had just gone through 9/11, everybody wasn't sure. And I wanted to have something kind of just in my back pocket, something for fun, just in case the military didn't work out.
And when you say fun, you're talking about finance?
Yeah. I think the fun part of it was a challenge every day.
Okay.
Like you're doing something, maybe the same thing all the time, but you're looking at different faces. You're making a direct impact on people's lives. See, prior to that, I was working on munitions and aircraft, and all I really saw was like destruction. If you really kind of boiled it down, you didn't get to see like a daily impact on anybody's life. When I started doing this was much more like I can sit with somebody, I can talk with them about what's going on, they can express what they want to express, and then we can find a solution. And that became something where every day you kind of get a little bit more like, yeah, I did something, versus at one point I was working on projects in 2002. Those projects today are still not live. like one of the things I was working on, they still don't have it made. So that would have been 23 years of just looking at charts and graphs, but no real impact. Whereas here, it's something that can be done every day.
And you're talking about engineering in the military.
Yeah, I was doing some engineering and I was working on munitions for a while. And some of the munitions and things that we talked about have such long lead times that you'll never see them. And then what are we actually getting to? We're getting to the point where we just blow something up more precise. Versus now we can sit and we get a chance to kind of talk with people and say, hey, I'm going to help you through your daily finances. I'm going to make you feel a little bit better about what's happening. I'm going to get rid of some of the worry, some of the fear, provide some abundance for you, provide some things where your children will be able to have a better life than you have. So really kind of getting some of these financial things in order for people. And lots of times that helps them get some of the other areas of their life in order. You know, they say, I don't know if the statistic is real, 50% of marriages end in divorce, and they end in divorce because of finance.
More, but yeah.
Okay.
Indirectly or indirectly.
Yeah.
So the other part about this is you were going to school to be a family counselor, correct? A marriage and family counselor. So a lot of training going into the emotions that come with money and the impact that it makes on every part of your life. So all of that to be said that probably kind of the same emotions that you had about the military, just watching, people and what you could do, and then changing that to where, here, let me help you tackle one of the main causes for divorce, if not the main cause.
Yeah.
And also, even if it doesn't stop you from getting divorced, maybe you can take some of the turmoil out of it.
Sure, because a lot of money thing is really having to deal with communication. It's communication with you, yourself, like how do you talk to yourself? What kind of things are you prioritizing for yourself? Some of that's communication with your spouse when you're married. It's not so much that the money is not there, it's the communication is not there. So we're not sharing things with each other, and those all factor into the same thing, but money kind of has a magnifying effect on that because it is so emotional, right? If I was to give you $10,000 right now, you'd be extremely excited. If I was to tell you that you owe me $100, you'd be very upset, right? So we have these things that happen mostly because of money that we don't give it credit for, and we need to give it credit that it does drive. Everybody goes, what do you want to do? I wish I could win the lottery. Right? We don't say I want to be healthy forever. We don't say I want to live forever. We say, oh, if I could just win the lottery, right? Or when I talk to people that are in debt, and the only thing they think, I just wish I could get out of debt. So money really has a big impact in our life, and we got to find a way to kind of compartmentalize that and move that to where it should be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds also like you've had a pretty healthy history or relationship with money. When would you say that began?
I would say it probably began in my early 30s, where I started to have a more healthy relationship with money. Now, I'll quantify that because you know a little bit more about me. As a kid, I was like Scrooge McDuck, okay? So I always had a bunch of money. I very much liked having money around me. I always had more than I was supposed to have.
You learned you could earn it very, very easily.
Yeah. My dad had made a deal with me. He said, hey, if you get all A's, every time you get all A's, you're going to get $50 from him. So, and back in the day, every 6 weeks, I was standing there like, where's my $50? And I actually wanted it a specific way. I'm not going to take 2 20s and a 10 or a couple of 5s. I wanted all single $1 bills, brand new, with a little wrap around it. So you had to go pristine. You had to go to the bank to get them. I would get them. I'd flick them and smell them. It was really weird. I would probably slap my own kids if they did that, right? Because it's crazy. But that's how I operated. And so I was doing really, really well with that. And then I think the same thing that happens to most. Went to college, got out of college, became a brand new father, a brand new husband, and then my money stuff started to get a little bit more out of control. And I think lots of credit card debt, really no savings, kind of just a desperation all the time.
Forgive me, but I would also say the military plays a huge role in that. Not one specific military, but my brother was in the military, my sister's in the military currently, and not talking about them, but their friends do not know how to manage any money, so they get out and they're getting a paycheck essentially, right, from the Army or from the Navy, wherever they're serving, and they don't know how to balance that. They don't know how in any way to use it properly, and so they dig themselves in a hole that they can really never get out of, which determines kind of the course of their life, because maybe they don't want to enlist eternally. Maybe they want to get out and do something else, but they literally cannot because of just money management issues, or just having no financial education, or having no financial literacy.
Yeah, and some of it has to do with goal setting, and that's really where I try to kind of spend a lot of time with people. Like, it happens in the military. It happens with a lot of jobs that are secure. So a lot of jobs that we could see as secure, where we're not out there fighting and scratching, government, military, those things, you kind of feel like there's a path already. You get this false sense of security because you're going to get another paycheck every 2 weeks. You're not worried about the government going out of business.
Although it does shut down from time to time, right? And that has been a issue lately.
Yeah, lately we kind of always are doing something, but you're like, oh, it's going to be there. My check's going to come. Because of that, you're not looking at the long term. Like, even for the longest time, hey, if you do 20 years, we're going to pay you your retirement. That retirement's going to be 50% of what you make right now. Okay, so my retirement's taken care of. So maybe you're not having that long look at how much am I saving, how is it growing, what is it becoming. And we kind of got, again, I had to shed that false sense of security and provide real security for my family and for myself, and that was going to come with how I changed my attitude towards my money, my feelings towards my money, and what I wanted it to do. Like, where do I see myself 20 years from now, 30 years from now, and how do I balance that with how I live today? And I think that's a lot of where some of us are missing the boat, is we haven't been able to create that balance on where we're at today versus where we want to be 20 or 30 years from now. Because I never thought I would be this age. Okay, but it happened. Right. And now that's the present. So a lot of decisions that I made prior to this put me into this present today. Do I want to feel the same financially at this age, being almost 50, as I did when I was 25? And I know the answer is no, but we have to think about those things will change.
It's important to know where you're at, and to kind of take inventory, right, of where you are and where you want to go. And I will say that's kind of when I met you, as you were going through, I believe, your master's in finance.
Yeah.
And that's when you met your current wife.
Current, yes. Yeah. And she'll love the current part.
She'll love it. I think it's hilarious.
She'll be excited about the fact that you said current.
Current. Well, as you know, I come from a life surrounded with separations and divorce and all kinds of different things. So when I met you, you were kind of freshly divorced, going through your master's in finance, and that's when you met your current wife, Marthea.
Yeah.
And she was also doing her master's in finance and coming out of the military as well, and had a very unfortunate life circumstance happen to her. But in that experience, she really parlayed that into my introduction to financial education and financial literacy. Like I said, I was about 14 years old when her life changed, and it really made us all very aware of what could happen when things change, and they can change in a moment and forever. And so had she not had, the structure of, a finance degree, then maybe she would not have been able to weather those storms as easily and come out, a skilled sailor on the other side. And so to me, it was always important to watch kind of the emotion that went behind all of that, not just the grieving process, but also what comes along with the grieving process. If you have to have financial strain and worry how you're going to bury someone, how you're going to take care of their family, their life afterwards, because once they stop, that doesn't mean everything else stops, right?
Yeah.
So it was an important and impactful time for me, not only to experience it, but then that was also when my stepfather and my neighbor were getting into finance themselves, and they gave me the books Think and Grow Rich, and Thea gave me Rich Dad Poor Dad. And I will tell you that I've read those books probably over 20 times, but I used to read them every year just to refresh my brain, because to me those were the most important ideas behind the emotions and energy behind money, and how to maintain what you do accumulate, and how do you make it not only just accumulate for you but work for everyone else. Because only so much money is going to improve my life, right? I live a pretty great life. Sure, money can do some fun things, but I much more want to help my family and my, their legacy, but also my community, because to me, we're all connected. It's all part of our wellness, journey here. And when we talk about financial wellness, it's really one of the main pillars of stability and balance in your overall holistic wellness.
Yeah, one of the biggest kind of improvements is going from unsure about finance to being sure about your finance. That's where you get kind of the biggest payoff. So going from I have no idea what's going on, I have no savings, I have nothing, to where, hey, I got all my savings in place, I'm on the right track. That is the biggest kind of return that a person gets. Everything after that, yeah, it's better, but it's incrementally better, right? Does that make sense? It's kind of like, oh, well, I finally got all the things I need, and now I got this cool watch. Yeah, it's neat that you got the cool watch, but it's an incremental change from, hey, I don't have to wake up in the middle of the night sweating.
Right.
It's an incremental change from, before I go up to the grocery thing, I gotta count it all, make sure what it is, and maybe I gotta put some things back. It's hey, I gave my card and I'm crossing my fingers hoping that it will work. That change from that to having everything work, that is the biggest. That's 95% of the happiness you're gonna get. Those other things that we're doing sometimes, they're 5%. And so it's a real incremental change that I think over time will kind of go away, right? You just kind of get used to it, just like you would get used to anything else. But I would definitely want to fight somebody if they took away my financial independence. Like if they came and stole something from me, a car or a piece of jewelry, I'd be a little upset, right? But I would know I could replace that. But if they took away my financial independence, I think that was what would tear me up. So I know that's the biggest thing. So we're always striving just really to get to that point, and then from there a person can expand to all the niceties. But how do I get to financial independence? How do I get to self-reliance? How do I get to the point where I know that there's nothing out here that's gonna break me down financially?
Not making life decisions at the gas pump.
Yeah, or at the restaurant, or at random Target or Walmart, not having to make these life decisions, or not having something that's so small and minuscule really tear our life apart. I got a flat tire and now I'm messed up for 2 months. And so we want to make sure that we can get things in place to where that doesn't affect us as much.
Right. And the point that you made earlier is that a lot of times you have to feel that way before you can see those changes.
Yes.
And people always kind of get that backwards. They say, I'll see it, I'll believe it when I see it. Mm-hmm. And it really kind of comes back to fixing your energy, fixing the way that you approach money, how you use it as a tool, like we said, because it is a tool, and there's a right way to use a tool and there's a wrong way to use a tool, and either way, if you have a tool you should be using to make yourself better off, because when we know better, we do better. And just really having the access to basic financial education and having an idea of what financial literacy is, because just to that point, my father is a physician, and he has always said the number one thing that has cost him the most money is not his divorces and the women that he has been involved in, but it's always been not having a financial education or really any literacy in how to run a business. And so he's had to, because he said, they taught us to be great physicians, they taught us to be great doctors. They didn't tell us how to run a business, they didn't tell us how to run a clinic, and especially didn't tell us how to deal with insurance, because that's a whole other beast in itself, right? So whenever we talk about these things, he always said, I don't care what area of medicine you go in, we know what you're going to do, but you're going to also always have at least classes, a degree, some kind of experience in finance, because that's where he's had the most money embezzled from him, stolen from him outright, and really just has contributed to his imbalances in his life. Yeah,
we'll do as you go through it and you start looking at stuff as far as getting good or getting better at money. I don't know if you can be good unless you're like a Rupert Murdoch or somebody that. But it's an action loop, right? So there's actions and there's thoughts, and there's never really Sometimes it's an action thing that needs to be done. Sometimes it's a thought thing that needs to be done. They kind of play off of each other. And so all you need to be concerned with is, am I moving forward? Sometimes that forward is an action. Sometimes that forward is a change of thought. And it'll flip-flop around to where you're like, well, but I do need to be doing something that's going to move me forward. It's no different than going to the gym. Sometimes it's how do you think about it? Sometimes it's what movements are you doing? But I need to be thinking, what am I going to do tomorrow? I got to do something that moves me forward. So maybe it's I didn't eat that snack last night, which I'm very proud of myself. I didn't eat the snack last night. I was offered a tremendous cookie and I did not eat it, right? Because that's part of my health journey. The action part's going to be going to the gym today, right? I got to make sure that I go today. But either way, I'm moving forward. I'm not always measuring myself. I'm not always weighing myself, but I am making sure that am I doing something today that's going to get me better in this area? And finance becomes one of those things. Okay. Well, am I putting away a little bit? Am I taking control of this? Am I in charge of my money, or is my money in charge of me? Because when money's in charge of you, it doesn't treat you well at all. Okay. But if you're in charge of your money, you can make sure that things go the way you want.
It's important also in today's kind of state of we'll call it the economy or the markets, to kind of, if you would share some of your ability to be able to be so homeostatic, how you're able to be so calm and cool when things could be literally set on fire.
I think one of the things with that is I've been dealing with finance for over 2 decades. We are always in some sort of, the sky is falling, this is the end of the world. I don't care what year it is you pick. There's always something where we can say, oh, finances are different now, money's different now, the economy's different now. It's always the same. It's always moving. It's always changing. Something is always happening. If it became to where it was just completely stable and nothing was happening, that would be the end.
Right.
Okay, it's almost like anything else. If the water's stagnant, nothing's happening underneath. It's always moving. There's always something that we got to think about. We have to act regardless. Otherwise, we'll always use that as an excuse. Well, I was going to do it then, but this happened. I was going to do it this time, but this happened. I can go through every year from now all the way probably back to the 30s and 40s and name something significant that year that could have been used as an excuse to not get your money right. Talking Bay of Pigs and some Russian nuclear crisis, or we had 9/11 and depressions and recessions. There's always some reason every year. It doesn't matter. It's like it's almost like months of the year. Like when I was teaching, I have an office. I have people that work with me, and we'll go through and we talk about talking with people and getting your appointments up and reaching out to people. And I'll go do this exercise where I go through every month. And I have them make excuses as to why people would be busy every month. And nobody's ever failed it. They all get the right answer, because in every month, January, we're just starting the year. It's May. Well, the kids are getting out of school. And then July, vacation's coming up. And November, we got Thanksgiving. In December, we got Christmas. There's always some excuses to not move forward and do the right thing. We have to do it regardless. That's what makes the difference. Right? Every diet can't start on Monday.
It's got to start now.
Sometimes they got to start now, and that's going to make the biggest difference in where we go financially. Do we decide to start doing things, even if they're small things, do we decide to start doing them now? Or do we keep putting them off, and before we know it, we're 10 years older and 10 pounds heavier?
But some of us are aging in reverse.
Okay, yeah. I don't think that's happening.
Aging, and I was carded on my birthday. That means they didn't think I was 21 years old.
Yeah. Well,
I'm going to take it for aging in reverse.
Sure.
But to do that, you have to have money.
Yeah.
They say money doesn't buy happiness, but it sure contributes to a lot of the fun things, right?
Yeah.
And the other joke that we said was, you're not ugly or poor. It's a very real. It's a joke, but it's very real. In that when you have money, or you have that security, that stability, you don't have to worry about, again, making decisions at the gas pump or the cash register, and you can afford to have better, do better, treat better yourself.
Overall, you're going to have less worry, I think, is the thing. Again, I'm not talking about being ultra rich. what we are talking about is getting to the point where things just don't have to impact you in day-to-days, and you can kind of see that, hey, look, money can become a third or fourth priority in my life. I can let some of these other things come to the top because it's taking care of itself. You know, it's that garden that keeps giving. It's almost like if I went up to the faucet, I expect water to come out. I think we want to get to that point where money is like that for us. Like, hey, I'm going to get enough to do what I need to do. I'm never worried about getting a glass of water, right? I'm never worried about something that I would need. And so I don't want to be worried about those things. And I want to know that's going to continue into the day that I put my, foot in the ground. And then I probably want to make sure, if we can get to that point, is there some legacy that's going to last after me, right? Because otherwise I'm just a blink. Right, so I think the deal I got going with my kids right now is I'll give you all the money I have as long as you put a poster, or not a poster, but a painting, like an oil painting of me above the fireplace. Yeah, I just want that. That way when the grandkids or the great-grandkids go, who's that? You have to say my name. And that's as far as it's got to go. It doesn't have to go any further than that. It's just them. I want that picture of me so somebody will remember me for a little bit, because I don't know my great-grandparents' names. I don't know what they look like. And I think that comes from the fact that they weren't able to leave anything for us. And so why would their name, why would their legacy have to carry on? If we can do something like that, then that legacy carries on. And it's probably a little, what do you call it? It's a word when you're really into yourself.
Narcissistic?
It's probably a little narcissistic, okay? It probably has a little bit of that, probably a little bit of ego too. But I think if you do a good job, maybe a little ego's okay. Maybe a little bit is okay, and maybe a little history, and maybe a little bit of thought of what went into it, so they could continue that thing going forward.
Well, it's natural. It's part of the human design that we do want to leave a legacy, something that people, not so much that they need to remember, like you said, who you are and what you were doing, but that you did something for them. You planted the seeds knowing that you were never going to sit in the shade of the tree.
Yeah.
And all of these different kind of, metaphors that we have surrounding money, this is, not just cliche. It really is something that we want to leave behind, something more even than just, a building or sticks and stones. Those things, sure, they can stand the test of time, but what really has always made an impact in my life, and what I was always told, is that people don't always remember who you are, what you did, but they will remember how you made them feel.
Yeah.
And how you empowered them to do and be themselves. And you do that by not only empowering yourself and loving yourself to know that that's the effect that you have on people, but it's very important to recognize that we all play a part. We're a community, regardless of whether we know each other individually or not. We are all part of the collective wellness community. And finance, to me, is of the utmost importance. It's just important for the stability. So if I was coming to you and I knew nothing about finance, and I tell you, hey, I have a degree in clinical behavioral psychology. I really never took any business courses, and let's pretend that I don't know anything at all. And what would you say if I said, okay, I just really want to be able to be financially free? What does that mean? It means I don't have to worry about going to the gas pump, going to the grocery. I don't want to worry about any of that, and I want to always know that I've got some kind of security and I'm doing something for my future.
I mean, I think it's easy. I think the first thing I would want to do is make you know that you could do it, and that we don't necessarily have to go to school or be introduced to a lot of things in order to understand finance. I do believe sometimes that we complicate it so that we don't have to do it. Oh, it's complicated. Oh, I never really learned about that. And I think that becomes our convenient excuse for not performing. Right? Versus if we do it another way, where I could say, hey, look, we're going to start with something simple. We're going to take inventory, and that inventory we're going to take is what's your income and what are your current assets. Basically, how much money you have, how much money do you make? And we want to know that all the way. I'm very surprised at how many people will say my finances are messed up, I can't get it in order, it's just so complicated. And then I say, well, how much do you make? And they say, well, I don't know. Well, I don't think you tried yet. Okay, I don't think you even attempted yet if you don't know how much you make. It's crazy. We spend 40 hours a week at work, right? Every week. for the most of our life, and you're not willing to take time to figure out, well, how much am I trading? How much time of this time am I trading for money? How much money are they sending me? So that becomes the number one issue. Well, what's my inventory? And then assets. What do I have do I have any savings? Have I thought about a savings? What do I have in checking? Like, just those kind of things would be number one. Real simple. I mean, you think about it, that's a 2-minute exercise to do that, but that's the first one, because that's going to set all of your parameters for everything else that happens. Because then we want to move into, okay, once we know that, and we're going to move into saving. And we're going to start with the simplest saving first. How do I make sure there's just money around all the time? Okay? It's kind of like, if I went to your house, there should be something in your pantry. Something, okay? Some cookies, some crackers, something. There's got to be some kind of staple there for going to. Well, we can say, oh, well, what's my savings? You have zero savings. Well, you don't even have a staple in there. So we're really kind of living that, seat of the pants, let's just see what happens life. And then everything's going to fall down from there because we're already set up for failure.
Right. And specifically speaking, that puts you in what the brain knows as survival mode, and you don't really have the accessibility to your executive functioning, right, the emotional part of your brain, to where you can think about those things. You don't really have any access to that prefrontal cortex that's responsible for planning and thinking ahead and making, sure that future Byron's okay, future Lindsi's okay. And so the psychology of this is going into a survival state where you cannot access those thoughts, you cannot access those processes, and you get stuck in there. And people live out their lives that way. And I would say live. I would take that very lightly, because to me that's not living, that's surviving, right? Surviving is very different than living and experiencing things in full joy or in full ease. So to me, just having that stability, or even just taking the inventory, and I'll bring this up whenever I met with Laura when I was like 15, and she was talking to me about everything that she had just kind of been through, and we wrote out a list, and she said, all right, here at the top of this is, these are your assets. These are your liabilities. Assets make you money, liabilities cost you money. And so those things outline kind of how you look for. So if you want to have access to these things that are fun, houses, cars, all the fun, fancy things, you have to have an asset to pay for those. So anytime you try and do anything with money or business, you need to get inventory of what your current assets and liabilities were. Now at 15 years old, I was only a liability, right? I had no assets other than babysitting, and then I worked for golf courses, and that was tons of fun, and I did make a ton of money. But had I not had any type of financial education or literacy, had I not read those books, I wouldn't have been able to even manage just basically that, which at 16 it was insurance and gas money, and then being a teenager and being a teenage girl at that is expensive, more expensive with the invention of Sephora and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I think most people, like you're talking about, you got to sit down and go through assets, liabilities. Most of us are just playing a game of MASH. Like I remember when I was a little kid, we used to make these little things. You go like this. It was MASH, M-A-S-H. Mansion, apartment, shack, house, right? And then depending on which one you chose was what you got. I think that somehow that imprints on us, and we believe that that's how money's going to work later. Like it's just luck of the draw, and it's really not luck of the draw. A lot of it is planning in the simplest sense of the word, and kind of pointing towards a goal. What is it that I want? Because I've met people that make a lot of money that have no financial security. I've met people that make maybe not a lot of money, but they have financial security. A lot of it is coming from the actions that they do with their money. And again, what are their goals? What are they thinking about with it? Or are they just kind of flying by the seat of the pants? And I think with money, it's dangerous to do that, because it doesn't take but a second for that flight to get thrown off. Because all we need is one thing to break, or this emergency, or something that we really need to do, or sometimes it's even something as silly as something that we really want to do. And then now we're going to sacrifice the next 3 to 5 years of our life because of something that we really wanted to do and never really kind of get to enjoy it. So we're always behind on something else, or there's always something pressing. So we used to say you're going like vacation. You're going on your dream vacation, but coming home to a nightmare.
Right.
I don't know if I can't separate those things. Maybe some people can't, but I'm going to spend most of my life in my life, and I want my life to be really awesome. So it does feel more like a vacation, or it does feel more like, hey, this is the easy part. The hard part is leaving to go somewhere else.
Well, after taking inventory, what would you say your very basic step 2 would be?
It's going to be goal setting. And it's going to be some near and far, much more focus on the near goal setting. Not so much, hey, when am I going to have millions of dollars and live in this awesome place, but like near goal setting. And near goal setting could be, hey, how can I want to get a couple months ahead. Like if I spend $4,000 a month, well, how do I get $8,000 to $12,000 of access to where I'm always 90 days ahead? So I don't have to think about waking up again in a cold sweat and going, well, what if everything falls apart tomorrow? Or when things do fall apart, I don't have that. So I would want to start with small goal setting things like that. How do I make sure that I'm meeting all of my requirements as far as what I need to pay every month, which may involve getting rid of some things. It may involve taking inventory of those things, but how do I get it to where that makes sense? And so it's going to be some of that just close goal setting. What's going to happen over the next really 3 months to 6 months to a year? It's not about, I got to live my life up. I'm going to die pretty soon. Yeah, but that's because you're thinking about what's going to happen when you're 70. If you're 25 right now, 70 is not as much a concern, especially if we start to take care of what's going on now. And then the next step would be going to those longer and longer periods out. So I'd start, of course, taking inventory and then some goal setting. And that goal setting is results oriented. It is not, I want to own this many things at this kind of deal and this. It's much more like, hey, I want to make sure that I can live a certain lifestyle. And that's, in today's dollars, that may cost me $6,000 a month. Okay, that's a good goal. I want to make sure that I can leave something for my family. Okay, well, that's a good goal. It's okay for it to be that kind of broad right now. It'll get more specific later as you get more of a feeling into what's going on. Does that make sense? It's kind of like, if you were to go to the gym with me, I may say, well, do some push-ups. Okay? After a year, I may say do 100. But when we're first starting, just do some. I want you to see what it feels like. I want you to get that feeling. I want you to know what you like. And then we'll develop on that as time goes through. But it's more important right now for you to just do some.
I want you to tell me the story of when you were, was it drill sergeant? And you would make them do the push-ups. I would love to hear, again, how you approached that. So when you were in the military, you were responsible for...
Oh, okay, I know what you're talking about. It's gonna be okay. No, what happened for me was it's kind of an off story, right? But
nope.
I'd hurt myself pretty bad in the hip, and so when everybody would leave to go run, I had to do a lot of push-ups. And I would do push-ups till they got back. Sometimes they would run for 3-4 miles.
And that was before you were the drill sergeant.
Yes.
Okay.
And then they would be gone maybe 20-30 minutes, and I would spend the entire time doing push-ups because you had to be doing something, and somebody was monitoring and watching me and motivating me to continue doing those push-ups. And so what happened was I just got really good at them later.
So you became the motivator.
Yeah. So I became much more of a motivator. So many times I could put people down for push-ups, and then I could continue to do push-ups on and on and on. And then they would get kind of, same thing like money. They would get upset, and how come I can't do that? And what's he doing? But they don't see the work that went on in the background. And it was much faster than I thought. Who would have thought in a year I could go from, most people, I think they can do 10 or 15. If we were in a day, I was probably doing 400 or 500. And I could do probably 200 in a sitting. And what took a year. I think the same thing happens financially. Oh, I can only save this, or I can only do this. Yeah, but when that happens 5 times, 6 times, 10 times, 12 times, how much better are you going to be at that point? Because it's going to happen. Or hopefully we're going to live a nice long life, and then we're going to keep having those birthdays, keep having those Christmases. But when those happen, are we getting better every year? Is my 2025 better than my 2024 and my 2023? Am I moving forward financially, or am I always getting stuck because I say that, well, this little bit doesn't matter? Little bits always matter.
What kind of car do you want to drive? What do you want it to do? Kind of how I think, when I think about you and money, for some reason, that's the analogy that also sticks out with me. And then, of course, the story that I was trying to get you to tell is when you would have your young inductees, what are they? Your young soldiers coming in, and then like, all right, we're gonna do push-ups until I get tired.
Oh yeah, I mean that's a real common military thing. You basically think like, we're gonna do push-ups till I get tired. Yeah, because I'm not gonna get tired before you, because I already know that I've worked that muscle out. I already know that I've done this and been through this. And again, I think that becomes the deal. And I think it, for our purposes, it kind of sets somebody up as a mentor. To where we can say, hey, look, there's certain things in life that maybe I don't have to worry about anymore, but that didn't just come to me. I made those things happen. I didn't think about it all day long. It didn't consume me. I just, again, 1 or 2 small actions can have tremendous results for us.
Consistency and exponential, what is it?
Like compound interest and exponential growth. Yeah, but even before
but
it takes a while to get there. And so those small actions that we may not see the results from today are the ones that really kind of pay off. The result of what we have today is probably from me deciding that I was going to save $25 a month. Okay, which may have come from when I was a kid and I'd get the $50. And I made sure that $10 got put in the special Smurf wallet, right? I got a Smurf wallet, put everything in the Smurf wallet. You hide that behind all your clothes in the drawer as if nobody ever sees my drawer and I don't have a mom or anything like that. But I always, money went into the Smurf wallet, until the Smurf wallet was busting at the seams, right? Because every 6 weeks, $10, $15. Oh, I didn't use all of it, $10, $15, $10, $15. Before you know it, that Smurf wallet's got $300 in it. Well, now I'm a 12-year-old with $300 and no expenses. So you can think better. The next time the next grade thing comes out, and I'm like, hey, I need my $50. Yeah, well, the $50. I need my $50, but you could take a week or so to get it to me, because I'm sitting on tons of cash. And so, just get it to me later. That's fine. I don't want the 20. I didn't go to the bank today. No, go ahead and go to the bank. Let me get them ones. So it'll really kind of make that difference of starting little. So my suggestion is going to be, like you said, hey, what do we got to do? First, we got to take inventory. Second, we need to set some goals. And then I'm going to start making some steps that make sense towards that goal, an action step. And it's probably going to start with saving. I'm in debt. Save anyway. Hey, well, I don't know how much I'm supposed to save. Something. Okay? I feel like I don't make enough money to save. Even more reason to save. If I don't feel like I make enough money to save, well, then I definitely need to save, because I'm going to be caught in this loop of making money, spending money. I'm always going to be at zero. I got to find a way, or I got to just make myself, I'm going to shave off $10. I'm going to shave off $15. I'm going to shave off $20. That way, months down the road, I got a little bit of savings. I'm not living paycheck to paycheck. I'm not zero to hero every 2 weeks or every 30 days. I'm starting to build something up, and those small changes, there's nothing that doesn't matter. Oh, well, if I can only save $15, that doesn't make a difference. It will later, and it also does today. Because how much did you save last month? I saved 0. So 15's 15 times better than that.
Better than nothing.
Yeah, and you start that, and then it'll begin to grow because you'll see that you don't need that money.
Right.
Or that you can do without it, or you'll make it work. And they say, oh, I can do a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more. And then you'll get to the point where it's enough to really kind of start growing and being something for you. And again, you're not making decisions based off of just what you made. You're making decisions on what you're worth. And those two things should be different.
It's important to know. I would also say it's important to say the very basic steps. It's not ever usually the step that's the hardest. It's just taking the step. Standing still is actually hard. Moving forward is maybe, tedious, but it's easier than standing still or being kept stagnant while you watch your friends and your family go off and do the things that, they want to do. And so to me, the idea was always, I might not be an expert in this specific or particular area of finance. I do have an education more than most, experience and exposure and accessibility to it because I've had you and Thea in my life. But to me, it was always more important to have an idea so I can always know what you're talking about, but always have a coach, always have somebody that you look up to or admire the way that they're living, the way that they do things, because to me, when you see somebody doing something well, you don't need to go and do something, don't have to go reinvent the wheel. Just emulate what good parts you see and that you think you can do. So to me, I was very, very fortunate to have you guys around. I've lived in all kinds of different financial experiences. And to me, it was always just know what they're talking about, have an idea of the language, because it's a different language, right? Finance, technology, they're all different languages. Speak the language, but always have the smarter people than you. Always surround yourself with the experts in those areas. That way you don't have to be the expert, but you've got the experts essentially working on your side, working for you, and that's what investments, are.
Sure.
And that to me is, I don't have to have that that nervousness about, okay, I took $20, am I going to lose that $20? To me, having the financial security that even though I'm only able to save $20 that month, that's going to do something else. That's going to grow. That's going to drive us somewhere, even if it's a fraction. It's still something.
We're so caught up on what is it doing and what is it gonna do that we're not doing the action. And almost everything, every result we've ever seen is behind the action. And if we can do the actions, it's much easier to maybe tweak and get somebody to expert that, right? Kind of like we'll go back to, like, I know you guys talk a lot about health and wellness. I talk a lot about stupid stuff.
I think you talk a lot about finance.
Yeah, I do talk a lot about. I make a lot of relations to things, and mine's always going to be like either cars or the gym, right? Those are my two things. And it's kind of like, if you are at the gym, I can fix your exercise. If you're at home, I cannot. So when people are kind of, I would do it, but I need to know everything about it. I need to know how this works. Many times I'm like, I don't know if you need to know it. You just need to do some of the things because we know that they work. And then I think as you do it, you'll get better at it. You'll understand more. Or when somebody gives you direction with it, it sinks in better.
We have something to do with that direction.
Yeah, you have some kind of reference, right?
It's not the doctor giving you a prescription and then saying you need to lose weight by.
Yeah.
Here's where I get introduced and I say, okay, well, these are the steps that we're going to take to do those things. And it definitely becomes, it's just part of your life.
It's just part of it. Like most things are pretty simple. I think whatever you do in your life, if you have some place where you have an expertise, the steps that you use to do that well are the same steps that would be used to do anything well. I know, like earlier before we were talking with the person who's helping us with this radio, we were talking about music and recording, and we were talking about finance. All the things are the same. The actions are the same. Maybe different media, maybe different products, but we're doing the same things. So almost everything is hidden behind an action. And now you either going to have a good thought process to lead to that action. If you can't get your thoughts together, then you just need one thought, let me do the action, and then sometimes the thought will follow. But either way, it's got to be, what am I doing? And so again, we're taking inventory, we're setting some goals, we are doing some action things, and then we're going and we're looking and paying attention to those action things. What is it different? If I saved $1,000, I need to kind of pat myself on the back, but that's it, right? We don't save $1,000, pat ourselves on the back, and then go spend $1,000. We pat ourselves on the back and say, man, I'm $1,000 better. How quickly can I get to the next 1,000? How quickly can I get to the next 1,000? And what you'll see is some of that almost becomes a little addictive, to where you're like, oh man, what can I do? Because it's like almost like anything else. Once you kind of get into it, you can get into it, and you're still going to receive joy from that thing. And then we balance it out, and we start, and then we can get more complicated, more complicated, more complicated. I don't think it ever gets extremely complicated for personal finance. I think we watch a lot of videos that make it seem like it should be complicated.
Well, I also think TikTok and the likes put out a lot of, or they allow a lot of misinformation to be put out.
Even before that, it was certain books and things like that. Like you talked about 2 books that people have read those and gotten great results, and other people have read them and it's thrown them all out of whack. And it's because they're trying to create too much out of it. The reality is, we just want to have a pile of money big enough to where we can live off of it. Okay, it's no different than growing a garden or growing. Hey, look, if you got 2 trees, should you chop them down and burn them up, or should you allow them to grow and create fruit? Well, I want mine to grow and create fruit, and I can eat that fruit forever. We got to apply that same principle to our money. One of the farmers said, whatever you're eating your whatever seed, right? The seed that you would use to start the next one. Lots of us are eating those seeds in our money. We're never getting that money in the ground to work for us. We're constantly just consuming it. So how is it going to go and ever do anything great for us? We're consuming it as soon as it comes out.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
If you do you remember at what point you realized that you were living out those goals, those predictions, those things that when was it where you went?
Okay, that's a good question. I can't, I kind of remember it. I think, again, it happens in stages, and so I won't say that we're at the end stage yet, but we're definitely at a stage where I did kind of have I'm like some real serious stuff has to happen for us to have a bad 10 years, right? So I think right now we're at a point where we could last out maybe 15 or 20 years without having to worry about what's going on. I think I was just floating in the pool. And then I was thinking about what we have done and where we had been. And
the pool you have now?
Yeah, at my house. Okay. And we were kind of rolling around. I was just sitting out there.
The other place had a pool too, right?
No, we just got a pool now. We waited to do everything. I just told you. Okay, I won't tell everybody else, but I'm a little cheap. Okay, but
you're not cheap. You're frugal. There's a difference.
I don't know if there's a difference.
It is. It's a mentality of like a cheapskate versus I like to budget and balance.
Well, whatever. I think we're all trying to make ourselves feel good or bad, whatever it is. But I'm not trying to spend all my money all the time. I'm not trying to give it away. I'm trying to have something that is always ours. But it was, again, we were kind of sitting there, and I started to think, hey, look, with what we have now, could we sustain a doable lifestyle? And I was like, yeah, if I just took this percentage out of what we have every year, I could maintain a lifestyle that I had 10 to 15 years ago. I could make as much money as I made 10 years ago from the money that we have every year. And that was the time when I went, whew. Now with that came the ability to be able to have a little bit more, do a little bit more, have some more of the watches and cars and all that other kind of junk in life. That came with that. And I think it was able to come with that because we didn't do it first. So we didn't do stuff first, financial stability second. We did financial stability first. And then it's easy to do the stuff. and then you can get only the stuff that you want. You don't have to impress other people with that stuff. It is what you like. And then some stuff you decide you don't even like it that much anymore, or you don't want it, or it doesn't make a big difference if you get it or not because you know you can. I used to call it cookies for dinner. Okay? And everybody looks at me crazy when I say cookies for dinner, but it's like if I was 6 and you would have told me I could have cookies for dinner, I would have probably flipped this table over, right, from excitement. And I'm like, cookies for dinner? Like, what is going on? I could just have cookies? It's crazy. I'm an adult now. I'm almost, like I said, I'm almost 50 years old. I could have cookies for dinner anytime. I have not made that decision once. Because I know that I can do it.
Right.
Because once you know you can do it, you can make better choices, and the choices that are better for you.
Just because you can doesn't mean you
should.
should.
Yeah, but you kind of you get over it. I would have been, before, because somebody was controlling what I ate, cookies would have sounded awesome. Now that I'm in control of what I eat, and I know that I could eat cookies, it's not a big deal.
Right.
And so I want to help everybody get to that where they're at financially, where everything is not a big deal. And it begins with the things that we've mentioned, right? Which we talked about, taking inventory. And I keep summarizing it so I make sure that we're getting to that everybody's getting to the right. But taking inventory, setting small goals, having some action statements, and then measuring those results. Even if they're small, are they better? I just don't believe in beating yourself up on finances. I do believe in getting better. I have one client in specific that I know. He always looks at his stuff, and after he looks at it, he goes, man, I'm doing pretty good. He goes, do you think I could, and he always asks me, do you think I could save another like $50 a month? And I said, well, do you think you can? And he said, well, yeah, I think I can. I said, let's do it. Right? And he thinks I'm being condescending, but I'm not. I'm really excited about that because I'm like, hey, yeah, that makes sense, because when you started, you were saving $25 a month. Now you're saving $500 a month. When you started, you had $0. Now you got $50,000, right? It's been, whatever time it's been, he's $50,000 better now.
Right.
And I always ask him, have you missed anything in life? No, I haven't missed. I've lived where I wanted to live, or what's in reason. I've bought the car that's in reason. I've my daughters and stuff. They've all done the things that they need to do, but because he shaved off that little bit. So, I don't know. Whatever he's missing to do that $50 is not something that was consequential.